You're listening to Humans in Tech. Our podcast explores today's most transformative technology and the trends of tomorrow, bringing together the brightest minds in and outside of our industry. We unpack what's new in physical access, identity verification, cybersecurity, and IoT ecosystems. We reach beyond the physical world, discuss our digital transformation as a species, and dive into the emerging phygital experience. Join us on our journey as we discover just how connected the future will be and how we will fit into that picture. Your host is Lee Dow, VP of Global Marketing at Identiv.
Thank you for tuning in today. We're talking to the federal team at Identiv. That team includes Todd Harrington, the Director of Federal Sales, Dave Helbock, Director of Product Management, and Tom Dymacek, Director of Federal Sales. Thank you all for being here today.
A pleasure. Thanks.
So let's start off with, what is U.S. federal facility security?
Okay, sure. So after the bombing of the Murrah building in Oklahoma City in 1995, the federal government got together and formed the ISC, or Interagency Security Committee, and they looked at ways of how they can protect federal buildings from any future physical violence against either the building itself or its people within those buildings. So they created a process that was administered through GSA that really provides a 5 levels of classification, if you will, for those different types of facilities, and actually out of those will give you guidance as to how to protect those buildings.
Thanks, Todd. Tom, who's responsible for federal facility security?
Well, it would be a combination of folks. It would be on the physical side. It would be the physical security personnel, including which would roll up to the police force, as well as the folks in charge of the physical electronic physical security equipment, or ESS equipment. And then there would be the IT folks, or the CISOs, are responsible for all the data assurance and data security. And what we're finding out is those are converging. And so we have to look at both as we apply any kind of security methodologies for the federal government.
Todd, you talked about the different levels of federal security with the GSA, the General Services Administration. Can you tell us how the GSA determines those levels?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So as I mentioned, there's 5 levels, and they incorporate a number of different parameters to define what defines that particular level. For instance, level 1 is a building that may have 10 or fewer employees. There may be a low volume of public contact, or it may simply be a square footage. In the case of level 1, it's no bigger than 2,500 square feet. A good example of that might be some of the storefront Social Security Administration offices you'll find in county seats across the country, or say a Department of Agriculture storefront for farm affairs. And things of that nature. And then it goes up from there. Level 2 would maybe bring it up to 150 employees or less. And then it may be up to 80,000 square feet. So they give you some physical parameters to go by when defining what those levels entail. And then from that, then there are mitigation methodologies to address the physical security.
What security operations do federal facilities include? Tom, do you have any insight into that?
When we say federal facility operations, I mean, again, it's a combination of things. We have the physical security side, so it's all the folks on the guys with guns, as well as those folks managing the electronic security systems. But then again, you have the operations for the IT and IT infrastructure. So those have started to converge. And so when you look at security operations, you're really looking at the overall broad-reaching cyber and physical security as a singular entity.
So Dave, what are some of the challenges that are associated with the implementation of federal facility security?
A lot of times it happens when they're doing these risk assessments and using the various risk management framework options, I guess, that while they're filling them out, is determining the likelihood or probability of an action. If you're in a certain location, you may be more vulnerable to vandalism, where another location you may not be as vulnerable. So each time that you go to do these site surveys and do your population estimates, do your likelihood or probability estimates, it allows you to build a risk mitigation program around those numbers, but it's still based a lot on the geographic area and what type of circumstances you're going to encounter having your personnel and your property that needs to be protected.
Well, given that, Tom and Todd, the federal facilities are some of our most secure buildings in the country, or globally even. What are some of the types of threats that federal facilities, employees, and the public face in those spaces?
Sure. So some of that could be an external threat, for example, physical violence, threats of bombs, things like that. And some other examples, when I was doing risk assessments for Department of Ag, they had facilities that may be doing research of genetically modified plants. And so there's a certain segment of the population that finds issue with that or takes issue with that. And so they were cognizant that those could develop into a physical threat. So there's a number of different other types of threats that a federal facility could, not just external, but also an internal threat. As an example, you might take, say, someone deciding to damage an IT closet, which may shut down the mission of that particular facility for a period of time. Of course, there's a cost involved in that. There's a loss of data, of productivity. So all that becomes at a cost, and those are all some of the things that are taken into account when looking at the threat potential for a particular facility.
Dave,
let me add to that.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Let me add to that as well. So, Todd mentioned physical. So, of course, certainly active shooter is always a concern, especially when you have federal facilities that are more open or open to the public, such as hospitals. But you also have the data security issues and some of the things that we address with our solutions. And that's, a big one is PII, or personal identifiable information, or PII data, like I mentioned, as well as other data associated with assets and people.
So, Dave, the government's physical security program is responsible for protecting facilities and property information as well as personal assets. How is that done?
So typically most agencies have a physical security office, right? Some sort of office of security, and then physical security falls under that, along with personnel security, different administrative security functions, or sometimes even classified related functions as well. So inside each of those teams, there's physical security specialists that are specialized in actual system engineering, along with using these risk mitigation tools, doing video projects, doing physical access control projects, electronic access control projects, intrusion projects. It all depends on what they're protecting or determining how to protect it. There's continuous monitoring and security assessments done by sometimes different groups if it's separated between the physical security specialists and the security assessment professionals. There's also various committees that work in these facilities. So a lot of times the committees are based on how much square footage they have and the actual the agreements in place when they either leased or purchased the facility. And there's also lock and key programs, and then protective security officers as well that are physically located around the facilities too. it's a pretty comprehensive program.
Can you tell us more about the solutions that Identiv has to secure everything from those standard office spaces to the highly secure facilities? I know that includes FICAM and our in-stock physical access readers.
Absolutely, yes. So Identiv has an end-to-end solution. Our Velocity is our flagship high security solution. It can be used in standard offices. It can be used in classified spaces. It can be used in large enterprise environments. And inside of the Velocity access control, using our Hirsch hardware, we do offer a TS reader line, which we have several different types of readers available and can be used in all sorts of applications. For contactless contact with FICAM, doing card authentication, doing PIV authentication. So there's a lot of options with our physical access control system. We also offer a video system, a complementary video system called Velocity Vision, which integrates to our Velocity platform. And then we also have different integrations available for intrusion detection systems as well, where you could use the Velocity security management system to also monitor the events and traffic from everything going on in your facilities.
Tom and Todd, is there anything that you wanted to add to that or to the discussion around protecting facilities and the property and personal assets?
Yeah. So there's a couple points there, and one is when viewing the overall security posture of a facility is to consider the mission and what could impact that mission in terms of a threat. Like I said, it could be so much as some sort of an infrastructure attack. In other words, where you lose power, you lose access to your network, and so there's things you need to consider over and above just locking your doors, but also how do you protect those other assets that may affect your mission and your people. So there's a lot of layers as we've indicated today, a lot of layers that can go into addressing those issues. We are able to provide solutions to address nearly all of those layers through our physical security PACS, our video surveillance system, our Velocity Vision, and our use of intrusion detection systems. So we have a lot of tool sets there that we can go to help support, a federal end user. Lastly, we have a lot of experience in working in the federated environment, and by being able to bringing, our expertise, we're able to assist an end user that maybe, has questions on what the best way to apply our solution to their particular issues that they're trying to address. Tom?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Yeah, and I want to stress that the 13.2 solution that we provide is unique. There's not very many folks who can deliver that type of solution. What that really means, as Dave mentioned, end to end, is that we provide security, physical security, but the data security for the PII assets, as well as the security of the data going through our systems, right? And so, and that means utilizing equipment that is from a single manufacturer, which is important because when you're looking at supply chain and things like that, as well as securing that supply chain, that becomes even more important in today's security environment. So it also adds what it also does is it adds cost savings as well. So you're meeting the requirements that the government is trying to meet, as well as providing stronger security at a much more competitive price point. So, these are very, very important elements in helping the customer solve their problems and meeting their missions.
Excellent. It was really great conversation with all of you today. The federal space is so interesting because it is so intricate and does have its own special set of complexities to navigate through. So I really appreciate you taking time to shed some light on that for our audience.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We appreciate you guys taking your time out of your day to participate in the Humans in Tech podcast. For our audience, if you like this podcast, please like and subscribe.
The problem isn't security, it's awareness. Velocity Vision is the future of visual surveillance, an intelligent video management solution that delivers real-time situational awareness in an open security platform. Integrate with your existing systems, verify your environment in one pane of glass, and increase the efficiency of your security operation. Get full control of your environment when and where you need it. Learn more at Identiv.com. Control access anytime, anywhere, and on any device 24/7. The Freedom Smart Bridge is a leading-edge door controller that integrates seamlessly with existing IT infrastructure and management tools. It stores information locally from any server and remains fully functional in the event of a network outage. The Freedom Smart Bridge eliminates complex control panel configurations with technology communicating over encrypted IP network protocols. It meets audit compliance requirements and easily supports on-premises, hybrid, and cloud deployments. Learn more at Identiv.com. Physical security, identity verification, the IoT. The hyperconnectivity of our lives will only grow more pervasive. As technology becomes more automated and experiences more augmented, it's up to us to preserve our humanity and use new tools and trends for good. The only question is, are we up for the challenge?